pitches, tied it up. The Cincinnati Reds win the World Series in four straight. It was a sweep.
In the dirt, it's a wild pitch. Here comes Foster. The Reds win the pennant.
Perkins won the game.
That ball is fair. Cincinnati's ahead. 2-0.
Welcome Joe Randa to Cincinnati. Adam Dunn has done it again.
Benzinger backing and calling. And the 1990 World Championship belongs to the Cincinnati Reds.
Marty, yes. This is Adam from Milwaukee. Hey, Adam, how you doing? I'm good. How are you? Good. Do you think Scott Chatterbox is a good player?
Dunn up there with the bases loaded, the outfield deep and around toward right, and the 1-0 on the way to the plate. Swung on, long drive, right field, and this one belongs to the Reds.
And a high drive, hit back into deep right field. Junior has just knocked the door down to the 500 club.
Benson's first home run is a walk-off winner. That ball had a family.
And De La Cruz is, oh my goodness, look at this kid run. My, oh my, that is a triple.
Matt McClain's first big league bomb.
Spencer Steer's first big league hit is a home run to straightaway center field. Joey Votto's done it again.
The pitch. Votto swings high in the air. Right field. Yes! He pointed to the dugout to say, I told you. That is Joey Votto's 315th career go-ahead ribby. Only Johnny Bench had more as a Red.
And I can't tell you how much it means to play in front of everyone here in Cincinnati as a Red. What a gift. What a tremendous gift. So thank you. Thank you.
I think I can speak for all of Reds country. Joey Votto, thank you.
High drive. Left center field. Racing back to the line. Bourgeois. The Reds are National League Central Division champions. In the air, left center field. Did he? Did he? He did. He did. Red win. Reds win. Line to the right field. Junior, the first Red ever with 4 home runs in a game. Can you believe it? In the air, down the right field line. Doesn't have a chance. The Reds have won on a 3-run home run on opening day by Ramon Hernandez. A strike away and out away is Homer Bailey. Ground ball to third. Frazier gloves. Throw to first, and Homer Bailey, for the second time in his major league career, has tossed a no-hitter. Oh, gosh. Oh, my God. Are you kidding me? Holy Moses, the second player in major league history to hit 7 home runs in the first 10 games. In the air, and the Reds win. What a dream beginning to a career of Jay Bruce.
All right, Nick, welcome into a Sunday night edition of Chatterbox Reds. Not a winning one as they dropped the season. I shouldn't say the season. They dropped the series against the Philadelphia Phillies. Some are saying the season. I won't go that far to say it yet. They faced a better pitcher. I mean, they faced a better pitcher than we had. I love Chase Burns, but the truth of the matter is if you want to get into semantics and debate on who you think the best starter is in Major League Baseball, go for it. But if you can't say that you at least seen one of the best starting pitchers in Major League Baseball, and you can kind of understand why the game went the way it went, I don't know if this is probably going to be the show for you from my perspective. I don't, not to say, Nick, that you didn't like to win. Of course, you want to win every time you go out there. But the Reds were facing an uphill battle, in my opinion, for both of these series. And call me crazy, call me a loser, call me whatever you want to call me. I really don't care. I would have signed up for 2 wins. Shoot me now. Nick, I know you kind of felt the same way. At least you didn't vehemently disagree with me when I kind of kept saying, hey, take one, and maybe if you get more than that, that's great. But I just don't think this baseball team right now is in a spot where they have enough pieces to be able to convince myself that they should have had a winning road series against those two teams. And I know everyone's going to say the Red Sox. Oh, the Red Sox, look at them. The Red Sox are better than what I think their record is. So, Nick, welcome in. Any opening thoughts here before we jump into the program? Got some super chats we'll get to here in just a bit.
Yeah, I mean, look, it would have been nice to have gotten one more win. I mean, I think if this team had gone 3-3, we'd be jumping for joy right now on the week. But at the same time, the 2 wins, the Reds came back from 3 runs down in both games. So you kind of is that to say, yeah, we're kind of fortunate to be where the Reds are at. The Reds have played really good baseball for the last month, kind of when their back was against the wall with a very, very difficult schedule ahead of them. They've played great baseball overall. This wasn't the best week, but it wasn't a week where they buried themselves and lost all the ground that they gained. Worst case scenario, I think the Reds are going to be 2.5 games back, and that's what a week like this week could be. Would have been a week where you could have gotten yourself buried, and they didn't get themselves buried. Now they've got an incredible opportunity ahead of them that we'll talk about at the end of the show.
We will, and I'm sure people are going to debate on what this homestand should look like. Some are going to think they should win every game. Some maybe are saying that anything less than definitely 4-3 would be a season failure collapse that they probably can't afford. We do this all the time. You watch this team day in and day out, and you start to kind of maybe perhaps overreact from time to time during the season. We'll discuss it. I think it's a massive homestand, though. I think it's a massive homestand, and it will, at the end of the year, come back to a few of these opportunities the Reds have kind of provided themselves on whether or not they're able to capitalize and do something special. All right, before we go any farther, I got a super chat. Jacob Doyle, he says, Andrew Abbott will forever be a 2025 National League All-Star in our hearts. Yeah, we have that for the back half of the rundown. I don't want to kind of go too deep into the well on it, but this is what you get when you kind of involve fans, I guess. That's kind of the nature of the beast. And I'd also say, when I say fans, I mean I just think that it's directed towards notoriety more so than strict performance. And I'm not trying to kill Clayton Kershaw because he's a Hall of Famer, but let's be honest.
We can get it at the end, but fans don't vote on the pitchers.
I'm saying that it's geared towards the fans, to be clear. Like I don't think that the managers are picking players based off if they think they can win or lose. They're picking players based off of, in my opinion, this may be the conspiracy of the night. We'll talk about it here later. I think they're told who they're getting.
Okay.
You don't think they are?
Well, Clayton Kershaw was picked by Rob Manfred. So, but he doesn't take a spot up from anyone. He's an additional player.
Okay, that's fair. Then.
The National League is an extra player. I actually love that.
So you so you like the idea that
the legacy player.
You like the legacy player.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's great. I mean,
but it takes away. It takes, to be clear, they're saying they're adding one. So theoretically, you don't think that's taking away from their ability to add an actual real player?
No, I don't know how. I don't know what the roster number is. I don't know if it's 30 or whatever, but the National League gets 31 instead of 30. Clayton Kershaw is just an extra player, so he's not taking a spot from anyone.
Okay, I get it. Maybe we should keep some of this.
Yeah.
My point is that if you're going to add someone to it, okay, is he going to pitch or not? Because if he's going to pitch, Nick, he's taking a spot from someone.
He might take a spot from someone performing in the game, but he's not taking a spot from someone being able to tip their cap, which is really, I think, the most important thing. To be honest, I would love Andrew Abbott just to tip his cap and that be his extent of the week.
Right.
but yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess in that regard, maybe he'll only face one batter too. I mean, that's also possible.
That's fair.
Or possibly doesn't play at all. He just goes and tips his cap as a legacy player. I don't know. I love that rule, though. I mean, I don't know if that rule was around Well, Joey Votto didn't retire. That was the problem. Like, if Joey Votto would have done a retirement tour in 2023, like, he could have been a legacy player in 2023, and that would have been awesome, right? Like, if he would have been able to be an all-star that year. But because he didn't retire, because he didn't retire or give any sort of hint. I don't even know if Clayton Kershaw is officially retired, but I think it's late enough in his career where they've decided that it's time to give him this year. So
fair. Well, I didn't know that. To be fair, I didn't know about the legacy player. I just assumed that basically every single pitcher, to be clear, was more or less going to be determined by market. And I'm well aware that Paul Skeens, but we'll see. Anyways, Andrew Abbott's just not he's just not a sexy pick. I don't know. That's kind of, he's deserving, but whatever. All right, we'll talk about it in the back half. Any other supers? I don't believe we have any, so I don't have to worry about it. And I'll also say, it's not the end of the world that our guys get much needed rest. That's nice. So, box score recap presented by Nick Kirby.
All right, Reds taking on the Phillies. Rubber game of a 3-game series at Citizens Bank Park. Zach Wheeler took a perfect game into the 5th inning against the Reds, but Austin Hayes smoked a home run to right field to put the Reds up 1-0. Start number 3 for Chase Burns. He stranded 2 base runners in both the 1st and 2nd innings before settling in. Burns retired 9 of the final 11 batters that he faced, but he left a runner on base via a walk with 2 outs in the 5th. Francona went to Sam Mole, and Schwarber crushed a double at 105 off the bat to tie the game. The Reds bullpen got out of some serious jams. The Phillies had runners on 1st and 3rd with no outs in the 6th against Scott Barlow, but he struck out 3 batters and ended up leaving the bases loaded. An error on Christian Encarnacion Strand playing 3rd base on Sunday put 2 runners on in the 7th against Graham Ashcraft, but he struck out Nick Castellanos on 3 straight pitches to end that threat. But the Reds' luck ran out in the 8th when Tony Santillan left a fastball right down the middle of the plate to Brayston Stott, and he crushed it out of the park for a 2-run home run to put the Phillies up 3-1. And that would be more than enough for Zach Wheeler. The only base runner that he allowed on the entire day was the home run to Austin Hayes. Wheeler throws a 1-hit shutout, his first shutout since 2021, and the Reds lose 3-1. Reds finish the road trip 2-4 and are 46-44 on the season.
All right, we got a deep drive of the day, and thankfully, one of the few hits that the Reds did have. To be honest with you, Reds didn't even really have any base runners, but thankfully, Austin Hayes didn't touch a base, so that stat is somewhat a little bit of a mere bait-and-switch tactic. Austin Hayes did hit a homer, 8th of the year, 100.3 off the bat, 377 feet. That would give the Reds, believe it or not, they did lead the game, 1-0 win probability at the time. Can you believe this? It never felt like this, but it was 64.4%. DSC, though, they are a leader in renewable commodities for biofuel production, specializing in used cooking oil collection, aggregation, and sales. Visit www.deepsouthcommodities.com for more information. One hit complete game. His first complete game since 2021. Not his first shutout, obviously. Yeah, but it's not a big deal. One hit, one GD hit, as they say in Major League. But I guess here's where I'm at with this. I am not going to get overly concerned about the way in which this offense looked. In fact, I was excited as all be out that they found a way against left-handed pitching to look competent. Like that's almost more impressive to me than, sounds crazy, but even if let's just say they won this game 1-0. And I know that perhaps the vibe would be different because they found a way to win a series against one of the better teams in Major League Baseball. I hate to say it like this, but it just felt like to me that they were clearly a class above. I mean, that's what they are right now. And yes, perhaps it's not earth-shattering news, but it felt like we got what we deserved. And there were some opportunities, Nick. Don't get me wrong. There was some opportunities because, clearly this pitching staff has continued to find a way to keep them in baseball games when you even feel like they're completely outclassed. 7 hits against that team is pretty damn good. The question I have for you in this whole thing is how many more times before it's too late does the lack of bringing in a left-handed pitcher to get guys out and or come into a game when there's 2 or 3 lefties due up in order, because clearly the Reds don't trust any of those guys. And I'm not saying that Santion was not the guy to go in there, because he's been great all year. I'm not trying to downplay that. But in a spot like that, or just in general, in another spot in the future, you would like to have somebody late in games that you would like to put a left-handed pitcher in and try to go out and get outs. But they just don't have that. And I don't know how many more times it's going to rear its ugly head before, as you have the nice display of the timely ticker there of the trade deadline. But is it reasonable to try to get something sooner than later, or is that just, again, we just got to wait around for 24 more days?
It's possible. I mean, I would say like left-handed relievers of all the types of players you could acquire is probably the most reasonable to maybe get early. A team that says, "Hey, we'll go ahead and sell now. We might not be able to get anything better for our left-handed reliever at the deadline. If you're willing to pay us what we feel is a fair price now, that might be possible. I mean, you can't force it to happen, though. You have to find a team that is willing to part with someone now. And the biggest issue, Trace, is that there's so many teams right now that don't know what they are. They're in the red spot. Reds are not the only team in baseball right now that's like, well, are we big buyers at the tail end or are we sellers? Because there's a lot of teams that are a week away from going one way or the other. So it's hard to find deals. I wouldn't say it's impossible. I hope that they're turning every stone, but if they turn every stone and nothing comes up, there's nothing you could do about it.
That's fair. I mean, but it's seemingly obvious that that's probably part of, I don't want to say it's their biggest need, but it's got to be close to the most obtainable need that they have, that they need to shore up as fast as humanly possible. I guess we'll get into Chase Burns. Go ahead.
It's their biggest need in terms of keeping the season afloat. It's not their biggest need in terms of, I guess, taking the Reds from point A to point B. Like, if they don't address this at the trade deadline, like, or maybe even sooner, it could be the reason. It could be the reason the season completely falls off the tracks. But it's not also going to help the Reds become a playoff team in itself.
That's eloquently stated as well, because I totally agree. I don't think that if they went out and got, I mean, let's just use everybody's favorite guy that everybody seems to want in Aroldis Chapman. I don't think if they even got Aroldis Chapman tomorrow, it's like, okay, World Series back on for sure. But I do think that it is relatively evident that if they want to try to stay in the race and they want to try to go from, in my opinion, in a spot where you feel like 2-4 on a road series against 2 quality teams, you've got to get to a point in the season where you feel like, hey, 3-3 is realistic. That's what we should be doing, not scraping out 2 wins, calling it good, surviving and advancing, which I think is a clear, for 2 guys that obviously watch a lot of this team, I think it's a clear admission that this team isn't quite good enough yet. So it's either going to have to come from within in regards to some offensive production that we haven't quite gotten out of the CESs of the world, and hopefully Marte comes back and provides a spark. We'll talk about that in a bit. But evidently, it seemingly is obvious that the most clear and obtainable fix that they could clearly patch up as fast as possible would be a lefty, because Sam Mole gets burned, Brent Suter gets burned, and we all know and how we feel about Rogers. So there's just not many other options left.
I'm not sure. The more I think about Chapman, does he fix anything? Because you're not going to acquire Aroldis Chapman and say, hey, buddy, we're going to have you come in and pitch in the 6th inning to get guys out.
Though. You'd have to. I mean, I know that sounds stupid, but that's what you'd have to do. And
sure, yeah. But convincing Aroldis Chapman to do that and, have it all work right, I just don't see that. Right. Like you almost need a good version of Taylor Rogers. That's what you need. I don't think a guy that's a set closer, it really helps this team all that much.
Well, if they were to get a left-handed reliever and he was good enough to be a closer, there'd have to be a hard conversation as soon as they walked in the door and saying like, hey, you're going to be put in the spot where we feel like we need it the most, which is more than likely going to be a spot when left-handed hitters are due up in the lineup. That might be the 9th inning. That might be the 6th inning. That might be the 8th inning. It might be any of those innings in between, but you're going to have to do it. We'll see. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. I watched the game today, and again, listen, Schwarber is a great player. I'm not going to get on anybody for not being able to get Schwarber out, but there's late in the game when you got Marsh up, and I'm not trying to say that he's not a great player or anything like that, but you've got to find a way when you have two. I think it was, I don't have it off the top of my head, but I think out of the three guys due up at the plate, 2 of them were lefties, and it seems like an obvious opportunity to bring a lefty in, but you don't have one, so it is what it is. Chase Burns starts. I'll be honest, Nick, I was running around today. I was listening to the radio a little bit. I did not see. I mean, I've seen obviously the box score and the stat line. Did not get a chance to kind of dive into what I thought he looked like. Clearly, it was a big outing for him from probably a psychological perspective, whether or not he was still tipping pitches or not, and whether or not it was tipping pitches at all, and he just was getting hit all over the yard. He goes out and struggles again, Nick, and you start to have some, oh, no, is he not ready, blah, blah, blah. At least at this part, based off the line item that I looked at, it looked like he at least is back to looking the part again. Fans are upset that he wasn't extended. Your overall thoughts on his outing in general, and then maybe touch on that?
Well, certainly a step in the right direction. Gave up 5 hard hit balls in Boston on Monday. Only got 1 out. Only gave up 4 hard hit balls on the entire day today against a better lineup in Philadelphia. So I thought he was really good. He struggled early with his command. Seemed to rein it in. Johnson came out and had a conversation with him. It seems like that kind of was able to settle him down. But yeah, I thought he threw the ball really well. I agreed 100% with Francona's decision. It just didn't work out. Kyle Schwarber is one of the best hitters on the planet right now. One of the most underrated players probably in baseball. If you kind of really look at what he's doing left on left this year is just ridiculous. Like just don't see players that are doing what he's doing. So Burns facing him again, I don't think that's really necessarily a good idea either. Burns, I think, at 91 pitches. I thought it was the right decision to pull him. It just didn't work out today. But yeah, I thought Burns and Burns got screwed a couple times on strikes. Could have gotten out of the inning. It might have been 2 batters before, had strike 3, ended up walking the guy. So I don't know. Great step for Burns. Like you said, the most important thing was just that the tip in the pitches got past that. That's not going to be a discussion going into his next start. Now, again, to be clear, he still needs to, I think, continue to monitor that and make sure that doesn't happen again. But at least that's not part of his narrative and his story going into his next start. And Trace, not to jinx Chase Burns, but his next start's going to be against the Colorado Rockies at Great American Ballpark after facing 3 brutal matchups. It's going to be nice for him to get a chance. I think City Connect Friday at home. Kind of a really big start right before the All-Star break.
Yeah, I mean, listen, he didn't come into the big leagues with an easy slate, and he performed well. Like, that's the thing. Like, you go up against the Yankees your very first start, and to do what he did, I mean, that was clearly that was just a breath of fresh air from the standpoint that you feel like you're not going to press or you're not going to psychologically try to overperform as a starter. Turns out, the next start didn't go so well against the Red Sox. But again, you can dive into the weeds on what you think that was about. I don't know totally, but certainly felt like there was tipping going on. And then today, you get back to maybe a little more kind of closer to what Chase Burns truly is. So, we're going to need to rely on him. I know Hunter Green's starting to kind of, make some rehab starts, and maybe he comes back fully healthy for the rest of the year. But the storyline really is, in my opinion, how healthy this starting staff can stay for the remainder of the year. And I think the offense has shown more or less that they're competent now. What that means, I don't want to go overboard and say that I fully trust the offense. I feel great about it, but I definitely have taken a leap forward in my confidence of feeling like they have a chance to win you a game now. When as before, Nick, I just never felt like this offense could win you a game. I thought that they could kind of string a couple runs together, and then you needed your staff to throw the ball well in order to get a win. But I never seen at the beginning of the year what happened in Philadelphia on 4th of July. That I can't honestly. That was the most shocking thing I think I've seen all year. Was just you go down 3-0, you're facing a good left-handed arm, you feel like there's just no hope, and then they just started putting great at bat after great at bat after great at bat together, and it made me rethink kind of perhaps what I thought I knew of this team. And by this team, I mean really just the offense. So I thought, again, 2 wins, 6 games. I'm not saying hang the banner. I'm really not. As many people know about me, I'm more the toxic side. I just feel like that's a survive in advance type situation. Scores tied at halftime. Maybe you could sit here and say that you're the better team, whatever, but the game's not lost. So, anyway. And
I'd argue their performance on earlier in the week against Crochet might have actually been even more impressive in the game they lost. So they had 2 games last week that were just absurd offensive performances. So, yeah, and Saturday I don't think necessarily was a bad performance. They just couldn't get the big hit. They had plenty of opportunities on Saturday. I didn't get to watch every pitch of that game, but I feel like they had some pretty decent at-bats on Saturday. Sunday, you just got dominated by Zach Wheeler. You move on. Hopefully you can beat up on the Marlins and Rockies.
Yeah. I mean, they ran into a guy that's better than they were. I mean, I don't know how else to say it. Tim Barnes said he lives in Philly, and he went to the games. Wheeler is nasty, and the fan base is hostile. The bank is packed daily. Glad we got a win there. So, yeah, I mean, he was there. He's glad they got a win. I think more or less moving forward in this show, it's about what the outlook looks like kind of as we head forward and we enter into, I keep saying, the biggest homestand of the season because it is. And I get that the idea that there was some homestands previously that we said this about, well, those are over. So now we have something new in front of us. So we're going to call this the biggest homestand there is of the season. It's not a situation where I think it's a walkover job. I think a lot of times you can look at the schedule and you can look at teams and be relatively disrespectful. I'm sure we can sit here and debate on what a good homestand would look like and what an average homestand would look like. Some are going to say going, 5-2 is average. Some are going to say 5-2 is great. Some are going to say sweep it, go 7-0. I don't know, what is fair for this baseball team, but I guess most importantly, Nick, in my opinion, is do they continue to look like they're progressing the way they have looked over the past few weeks? Do they continue to have good at bats? Are they competitive in games? Do they find a way to rally late if they're down? Does your starters continue to look the way they have? And do you still get quality outings out of your bullpen? And then you can reassess after the All-Star break kind of the health of the team moving forward. Because if anything, Nick, they've survived Hunter Green's absence. And that's a pretty big damn deal.
Yeah, Hunter Green might be back the first start after the All-Star break because they have him lined up to go on Tuesday down at AAA. Could have then again pitch on Sunday, the last day before the All-Star break. AAA also goes on the All-Star break at the same time. So in theory, he could make 2 rehab starts and be back that first game. Be interesting to see, how that progresses. But yeah, I don't know. What's a good home? They have to go 4-3. Like that, yeah. You have to go 4-3. Every game is its own individual thing. if you go out and you lose Monday, it's going to be really hard to do much better than 4-3, right? But if you go out and you win on Monday, then you got yourself a chance at 5-2, and then hopefully you can get greedy at the end of the week. But every game's going to be its own individual thing. You're going to have to grind and try to have to win each game on each night because these are all guys playing for their professional lives on these other teams. But you've got an incredible opportunity, and it just whatever you do this week makes it easier on the more difficult schedule ahead. So if you do go 6-1, well, now you've given yourself a little bit of grace if you stumble down the road. So I don't know. I'm excited for this opportunity. This is a huge opportunity for the Reds.
That it is. I mean, and I would also say, like, looking at the schedule in general, the Marlins are coming in playing pretty decent baseball. So it's not – I get you can take a quick glance and just say, okay, it's the Marlins, and you're going to say they're 8 games under 500, and I'm not here to try to argue that the Marlins aren't a team that you can't beat up on, but you come in last 10 games are 7-3, and I just think that it's a 4-game set. You've watched Major League Baseball enough in your life to know when you have 4-game sets, winning a 4-game set is tough to do. Would I like to think that we can maybe take all 4 of them? Sure. But I'm also somewhat of a realist here, and I just say 5-2. I think that's realistic. I think 4-3 is a necessity. 5-2 is realistic. Anything better than 5-2 clearly is an absolute home run. But it does feel like at some point, you ready for this one? They're going to have to get on an absolute heater to get to a point where you feel like, okay, this baseball team is probably going to make the postseason. This is one of the best homestands you're going to have all year to do this on. So as much as I want to say 5-2 is good, 4-3 is a must, 6-1 get you to a spot where you can say, okay, there's a pathway here. I don't really like even diving deeper into the schedule and being like, hey, look at the August schedule, look at the September schedule, because you just don't know how teams are playing when you actually face them and what the matchups will be down the line. But it's no secret that the Reds have already played the weaker opponents, if you want to call it that, already on their schedule. So it's an opportunity, one of the better opportunities they're going to have maybe for the rest of the year, simply put. Anything else to add before we jump into the back half?
No.
All right. 988, you can text and or call day or night. It's an anonymous hotline. It's okay to not be okay. Mantherapy.org, also a place that you can turn to if you're ever in a spot where you might need some help. As always, if you're a loyal listener to this show, you know that 988 is a very good hotline and resource if you're ever in need. Look at the schedule, Nick. Hunter Green gets healthy. You think he's probably going to find himself in a position where he's back by the 18th of this month?
Possible. I mean, that would be best case scenario. I mean, they may want him to make 3 rehab starts, but I don't know. It doesn't feel like they've really made Hunter go very deep into it. So I would think if he looks good after 2 rehab starts, they won't be afraid. Now, interesting thing is, what do you do in that spot? Probably a lot of it would depend on what Chase Burns does on Friday night against Colorado. I mean, if he goes out and dominates them, I don't think you're going to be able to even consider removing him from the rotation. And then that's where you might have to try to be creative in Martinez. Or, you could do a 6-man rotation until someone gets hurt, as callous as that sounds.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to put a pathway here. I mean, the reality is that you don't face any divisional opponents until after the deadline. Some might look at that as not a big deal. I think that it is. Like, in order for this team to probably get to the postseason, right? They're gonna have to leapfrog quite a few teams. 2 of them currently are in their own division. You have the Brewers and the Cardinals, and I've already conceded. Maybe I'm a loser for doing this. I've conceded that the Cubs are going to win this division.
I have as well.
I don't. I don't want to sit here and act like it's impossible, but it's damn near that. I just think the Cubs are good. That's part of it. Like, if I thought the Cubs were frauds, then I could maybe convince myself there's a collapse there. But that's not the point. Point is that you can kind of shore up maybe some of these things you feel like you might need to have to be competitive by the deadline, and you're going to face the teams that you need to beat without question after the deadline. So just something to keep in mind. But before we talk about post All-Star break and also post-deadline stuff, we'll talk about the All-Star game in general. I know this isn't good for the show, Nick. I know that you're definitely not this way, so there's a little yin and yang here. I just don't really care about the All-Star game. I know that you do. You love the All-Star game. You're a big Midsummer Classic kind of guy. You want to kind of cozy up to the television, watch the Stars Spangled Banner wave in center field, and then let the teams come out. And I'm so clueless anymore. I don't know if they're going to go back to the jerseys. I heard that they were. Are they doing that this year? Are they not?
I think so.
So, I'll openly admit I think that's cool when they wear their own jerseys, but they kind of lost me. They lost me on a few things with the All-Star game. One, they want to make it, at one time, they wanted to make it a competitive thing, but it wasn't a competitive thing. And then they turn around and now it's, as we'll discuss here, I know the pitchers aren't fan voted, but the rest of the position players are. And now my favorite baseball team has one All-Star, I think, right? I mean, that's it. That's all we got. And I'd argue that, they could have squeezed a pitcher on there, but that's here nor there. Your overall, I guess, perspective of Elly making the All-Star game, is it a big deal, not a big deal? Do you care? Do you don't care? I personally say, you know what's funny? Last thing I'll say, the World Baseball Classic to you is how I view the All-Star game to me with the players that are on our team. Okay. Prefer they don't even play in it at all.
I love the All-Star game. My favorite night of the summer. I'll be shushing my kids to be quiet during the player introductions so I can see everyone tipping their cap. Sometimes late at night, Trace, like to put something on before I go to bed. Sometimes I put on an old All-Star game. I just watch the old tipping of the caps. That's all I watch. It's I don't know. It's great. I love it. Elly making the All-Star game twice at 23 years old is pretty cool. Two full seasons in the big leagues, both years he's an All-Star. I don't know if you saw this. The players almost voted Elly number one. He was just behind Lindor. He was ahead of Betts in the player voting. So Elly's peers clearly view Elly with high regard. So that was pretty cool. Yeah, Andrew Abbott not getting it is a bummer. There's still a very good chance, though. I think he gets added. Francona had some comments basically saying they would completely support him being in there. And I think that also sometimes when they're looking to add replacement players, sometimes they're calling the managers, are you okay with this guy? And so the fact that they know Abbott is available makes them more likely to get selected because they don't want to select a replacement player for a pitcher that's not going to pitch with another guy that can't pitch. So that's a leg up for Abbott that Francona's already clearly put it out there that he's available to pitch. So if I had to bet, I bet he still gets added. I think it was kind of crummy he wasn't selected off the rip. I think Matthew Boyd of the Cubs is probably the most egregious over him. I haven't dug through everyone. But as we mentioned at the front, I love that Clayton Kershaw's in this. He does not take a spot away from anyone. That's what they call the commissioner's pick, I think is the official term. Players that are retiring or close to retiring, the commissioner is able to add them as a additional player to the roster. So they're not taking away anyone's roster spot. Now, if they pitch in the game, I guess technically they're taking away the ability for someone to play, but not taking away the ability for someone to be a part of the game. I think it's a great role. I think if back in 2023, if Votto had said he was retiring, I think he probably would have got an invite that year, and that would have been pretty cool to see. I think Miguel Cabrera got to do it his last year, Albert Pujols. I think that was the reason they started it, was basically to get Albert Pujols in the All-Star game. And I think it's a great thing. So again, Kershaw didn't take Abbott's spot if you're mad about that.
Yeah, well, I just openly admittingly, I was not aware that the commissioner got to make that pick. I just thought that it was basically the manager got to pick all of them. Wasn't aware that they added the legacy situation, but I was looking at the list clearly, and I just kind of got a chuckle that I seen Kershaw's name, and it's like, I get it. But if that's who we're picking, then let's just call it for what it is. And it is just that, by the way. It is very much a marketing, and at this point of what the All-Star game is, with the fact that interleague play is so rampant, it's more or less not very meaningful in regards to competition. So how do you get people to watch? You put the most famous, the most popular, the biggest market players in it, and it leaves out maybe the more deserving players in smaller markets if they don't have, a presence about them. Elly is going to have that regardless. I mean, and that's what's kind of shocking in a little bit of a way, is that Elly's still not to the point where he's having one of the better seasons really anyway. He was deserving to play in the All-Star game anyway, yet he still was incapable of getting the vote from a fan perspective. And I'd also add, this is a very clear indicator, and maybe a very eye-opening thing if you don't believe this, but markets matter. Markets matter. If Elly played for a major market team, let's be honest, there's zero chance he doesn't get voted in by the fan. It's not disrespectful for us as Reds fans. I'm not trying to downplay our meaning, but you wonder why you wonder why there's this complete inequity in baseball. Well, you're seeing it by the fan vote, and the more fans you have, the more money you make. Pretty simple concept. I don't really want to get up in arms about it, because I don't mind it. Put it this way: if Andrew Abbott can go home, spend time with his family, get some rest, come back, does it suck when he's older that he never made the All-Star game, or he didn't make the All-Star game a year that he deserved it? No doubt. I completely get, Nick, that it would be a lifelong dream of Andrew Abbott's probably to be able to go and shake the hands of the best players in the world, hang out with them, because he deserves to be a part of that class. I'm not downplaying it from a player perspective, but as a fan perspective, outside of caring about Andrew Abbott's feelings, it doesn't mean anything to me, because I know inevitably the only thing that can happen is a negative thing if they go to the All-Star game. And I don't mean to be crude about it, but as long as Elly gets home safely and doesn't have anything happen while he's there, I don't even want to bring up the word hurt, by the way. Andrew Abbott safely returns. I don't care if they give up the winning run like Hunter Green did. I don't give a damn what they do. Just make sure that nothing happens while you're out there and come back. So, maybe I'm too harsh. Maybe I need to turn the game on this year and get nostalgic like you do, Nick.
There you go. Yeah, for Abbott, I just think it's, he might not get this opportunity again. And I like the player to get rewarded for having an incredible first half where he put the Reds on his back. And I think he deserves that honor. Now, I'm completely with you. There's no way that it's not better for the Reds if he's not in this game. It does the Reds absolutely no favors. And I see a lot of people going, well, it's one inning. Pitching one inning is not going to hurt him. It's not the inning. It's not pitching. It's the whole week. The amount of traveling, to this, the amount of things you have to go to. Now, Andrew Abbott probably will have a little bit less commitments than a player like Elly De La Cruz, but man, Elly De La Cruz is like 100 the whole time, like running around doing millions of interviews, doing commercials, I'm sure. They're going to have Elly run into the ground that week. So that's kind of the unfortunate thing. And when you see like Francona give Elly a day off, or maybe try to give Elly a day off, I think that's a smart move. I fully support that because of how much he's going to be, run that week. So yeah, but there's no question. It's not good for Abbott, but he just deserves it. So I'm going to support it. That's my stance.
Makes perfect sense. But again, maybe the cold-blooded I just have the cold-blooded view, which is I don't really give a damn about the feelings of the players that are going. I just want to make sure that when push comes to shove, when my favorite baseball team walks out there to try to win games when it matters, there's nothing else outside of their normal daily lives that's hindering them from perhaps performing at their peak. Ned Flanders chimes in here real quick. He says, am I crazy, or has Elly almost eliminated the multi-game slumps from his offense this year? Seemed like he gets at least a hit in most games this season.
Well, he's been hitting lefties well, which is probably the biggest reason why it's felt that way. I mean, this was a week where the Reds faced so many lefties, not today, but the fact that he's been able to get some hits off lefties just has made him, a lot more competitive. I'm looking through. I mean, it looks like since June 20th, so whatever that is, like the last 12 games, he's only failed to reach base today, and then one other time. So, yeah, I mean, he's been reaching base just about every game. Probably just doing a quick judge. I mean, he's probably reached base 37 out of the last, 42 games or something like that.
Fair. If you think Tito was the manager of the National League, do you think Espinal would have gotten picked?
He'd be batting second.
I'm not doing that on this show because I think people just think that we're out to get guys. But this is venturing into territories that are uncharted, dude. We are now getting to the point in the season where I'm starting to really try to just completely blank out when we have an opportunity for Santiago Espinal to be hitting in the ninth inning, when you need to get a guy on base against a right-handed pitcher.
How many times has he batted against a right-handed pitcher in the ninth inning with the Reds trailing by 1 or 2 runs?
Yeah, it's you don't want to sit here and complain about it because it definitely feels like you're just beating a dead horse, and there's a certain population of the fan base that just thinks that Tito makes no wrong moves, or if he does make a wrong move, then it's just because he's human and it's because he's a Hall of Fame manager and he deserves the opportunity to do whatever he wants. But it just doesn't seem like there's any rationalization that could be provided on why this keeps happening. So I don't know. Maybe time will tell, but it's going to be it should be included in a documentary in 5 years or 10 years when Tito's sitting on his couch talking about the old days. If somebody could just slip in a question about Santiago Espinal and just say hey, what was the real? What did you see there?
Noelvi Marte performing well has never been more important than it is right now, just to make it impossible to get Espinal in the lineup.
I don't think it's impossible,
a significant amount.
Okay,
well, at least make it harder.
It's not
more
going to be
challenging.
impossible. Let's talk about. I wanted to bring this up, and I don't want to spend a ton of time on it because I feel like it's kind of it's a topic or a point in the game that I don't think it made a whole lot of difference in the end, because Ashcraft got the strikeout, no harm, no foul, move on. CES trying to play third base. Listen, that play, to be very clear, it's the third baseman's responsibility to take an angle to the baseball that allows them to either make the play or not be able to get to the baseball. You can't take an angle that with all due respect to CES, let's take Elly out of the equation completely. Let's act like he wasn't even there. If CES catches the ball based off the angle that he took, he has 0% chance to get the guy at first base and throw him out. 0% chance. He was damn near in left field by the time he got to the ball. But if you're a third baseman, there's an internal clock that you should have, and not to kill CES. He's not played third base a whole lot. Maybe we should push this back onto Nick, if we want to get into it, we should push this back onto the front office and or the discussion or the communication between the front office and the staff as to why don't we get CES more reps at third base than sit here and convince ourselves that he's 100% a first baseman. I don't care where you put him. By the way, I really don't care, but he needs to at least get reps to a standpoint that you can't convince yourself that you're hiding him at third base. Point is that CES has to make a straight line cut towards first base. If he catches it, great, because if he catches it, he's in a position to make the throw to first base, get the guy out, no problem. If he takes an angle to the ball that's towards first base and he can't get to it, that's fine. Guess what that's called? The shortstop can possibly backhand it and throw him out. If the shortstop can't get to him, that's called a base hit. That's what it was. And I just feel like sometimes people are like saying just because Elly's there, Elly, you know what Elly has done? It's a weird thing. You have a certain population of this fan base that gets pissed off at Elly because he's running all over the place, because he's not in his position, he's doing too much. It's like, who is it? Kelly Leak and the Bad News Bears. That's what some people think that Elly is. But the reality is that you can't use Elly as a crutch all the time either. You can't be like, well, I mean, he should have just let it go because Elly was there. Like, with all due respect, Elly's not supposed to make backhanded plays in the hole, throw 100 miles an hour across the diamond and get guys out either. So just play the game the normal way that you normally would. And if Elly makes a spectacular play, great. But let's not just sit here and rely on him and act like the third baseman's supposed to let balls go so Elly can backhand him way in the hole. It was a big spot in the game. Thankfully, Ashcraft got the strikeout. But at this point, Marte is going to have to be the guy to figure it out. And Marte made a good play the other day, but he also made an error on a routine play. I'm not totally sold on Marte at third base defensively either, Nick. But it feels like someone's going to have to step up, and Marte seems to be the obvious choice. I don't know if you feel that way, but CES is he skating on thin ice or not?
Well, to play third base, he's got to hit a lot better. I mean, because you have to understand there's going to be some sort of a liability with him there at third base. So he's got to hit significantly better if he's playing third base. I think Marte is just going to have a natural, better camaraderie with Elly on that side of the infield. Whether Marte is good or great or in between or whatever, I think he's going to just work better with Elly. So I think that's going to make some of that easier. But it was a big play, Yes, Ashcraft, struck out Castellanos in one of the worst at-bats I've seen in a while. But if you get that out, Castellanos leads off the next inning, and Stott would have been due up fourth. Now Real Muto singled, but you are at a different spot in the lineup, and it could have changed the game. You never know. We didn't get a chance to see, but no. Yeah, and it was very curious that Tito pulled CES right there, due up second the next inning. It was a tie game. I the broadcast was selling it as says, well, it's just because it's a tie game and it's a defensive thing. And I'm like, yeah.
No, that wasn't what it was.
I don't think that's what that was.
No, that wasn't. Let's be honest. That's not what that was about. That was because I think that there are some things that Tito has watched baseball for so long. And maybe you could pull in the bench coach, and you can pull in, whatever other coach you want to talk about. I think Tito isn't going to put up with just absolute ineptitude defensively. And I think that the angle that CES took when you watch it as a baseball player in general, I'm not talking about whether you think CES can play third or not. I'm just saying when you watch the angle that he took to that ball, I mean, it is asinine. It is asinine if you're an infielder to see what he did. And I get people probably are going to think that it doesn't look that bad because he's just trying to make a play on it. But he retreated so far back into the hole that he damn near was tripping over Elly. And what he should have been doing was taking an angle directly at the ball as soon as it was hit towards first base, or at least parallel to where he was standing, not literally running backwards. So I think that pissed off Tito or someone else and was like, see, we can't put his there. You can't put his ass there. You get him out of here. And that's what happened. And I'm not saying that they should have kept him in because he was due up second, because he's not hit. I'll say this. He hasn't hit well enough, Nick, for me to be like, I don't give a damn if he makes errors or not. Let him hit. To your point, if he was absolutely lacing the baseball, we could put up with that. But he's not. So, could you imagine if Rhys Hines was taking bad angles to balls in the outfield and missing fly balls? He'd stand no chance either.
He'd go down to Daytona.
Yeah, but that's what it looked like to me. That's what I feel like happened. And we get Espinal hitting second in a 2-run baseball game with nobody on. I guess I'll ask you this: do you think Espinal would have hit if they had a guy on?
I don't know. If Benson would have got on base, I would have been pretty pissed that CES wasn't batting. I don't think they would have pinched it for him.
I don't think they would have either.
It would have been Marte, I guess.
But that seems like an obvious,
which is insane. I mean, Marte hit a ball 117 miles an hour earlier this year, one of the hardest home runs we ever hit.
Yeah, it is what it is. I don't want to belabor a point, but my main thing was just like, we just don't have position players that play positions. We try to hide guys all the time. I mean, it's like, I don't know.
Well, hopefully Marte is back. I fully support Tito giving Marte a day off, coming back. Clearly, I think this was a pretty good day to give a right-handed batter the day off against Zach Wheeler. And you know what? Marte gets the whole day off. He didn't have an 0 for 4 or 0 for 3, I guess, because no one actually got to bat twice except for Friedel. He doesn't have an ugly 0 for 3. He gets to move on to the next series. So I think that was a fine move. Hopefully Marte can take and run with the position. What I will say about CES, this is a big week for him. He's going to face some weaker pitchers this week. The Marlins have some good pitchers. I'm not discounting them completely, but clearly not going to be facing the same level of pitchers that he saw in Philadelphia. A lot of with Boston, a lot of with the Yankees. I mean, this is a good week for CES to go off. Willie, I don't know. We'll see. But this is a tailor-made week for him. And I hope next Sunday we're talking about Christian Encarnacion and Strand a whole lot different. But if he has a bad week this week, then I think, yeah, there should absolutely be a conversation about should he start the second half on the big league roster. But I think he deserves the shot this week. If for anything else, that 3-run home run that he hit in Boston. Because if he doesn't hit that 3-run home run in Boston, it's a 1-5 road trip. And the vibes are a lot lower right now. So I think he's deserved this week to play, and I hope he plays almost every day.
Last question, I guess, or I'm making a point while asking a question, I guess, really is, when do the Reds make a decision that this lineup can be altered a little bit? We've continued to try to do the same song and dance to a certain extent. We've mixed in guys like Espinal, Matt McLain, and Lux in the 2-hole from time to time. How long until we realize that we could probably just bat Elly De La Cruz at the leadoff position and or in the 2-hole, move up Hayes, move up Lux or Steer, Stevenson, Benson, whoever you want it to be. I don't really give a damn at this point. But we have a guy, and again, I'm not trying to get down on our own players, but we have used guys right now with a 600 OPS, okay, and also a guy with a 587 OPS in the 2-hole the vast majority of the season. The 2-hole, the vast majority of the season. We have two guys that are absolutely not very good offensive baseball players this year. And I'm not a huge analytics guy, as you know. I'm not sitting here saying this is the only reason that you should do it is because the numbers are back, blah, blah, blah. I get that there might be some nuance that you want to use from time to time, but there has been clearly scientific or analytical data that says the 2-hole is where you're supposed to put perhaps your best hitter. We have put our worst hitter there more times than not. And I just, does it matter at the end of the year? Is it a 5-game swing? I don't know. I can't guarantee that. But I find it baffling that we continue to just flip-flop Espinal and McLain and give them as many opportunities to hit at the top of the lineup as they have. I mean, Espinal just hit in the 2-hole 2 days ago. It's absolutely insane work, Nick.
Yeah, it's the sticking Elly in the 3 spot no matter what, and kind of you've pigeonholed yourself. I'm not as upset maybe as everyone else about McLain because I do believe McLain can hit lefties well. He absolutely crushed lefties in 2023. had good numbers in the minor leagues against lefties. And he honestly, outside of the last couple days, had really been playing well. I think he had like a 130 WRC plus over his like last 25 games coming into Friday. So I don't necessarily hate having a good right-handed bat in between Friedel and Elly, because it does make it more difficult on the opposing manager late in the game. Now, what I'll do to poke a hole in that is, okay, so then why is we have Benson, CES, and Friedel back to back 8-9-1? Because they've already made the point that CES has reverse platoon splits. They haven't been playing him against lefties. Yeah. So that doesn't necessarily. There's just been a lot of things that kind of feel like they contradict themselves with the Reds lineup. I just think Elly should be batting leadoff, but Friedel's played so well that you can't move him. You put yourself in the spot. If Elly's batting leadoff, I don't give a damn what the rest of the lineup is. Just give the guy the most at bats and then figure out the rest of the lineup. But TJ Friedel got 4 at bats today. No one else did. Give Elly the most at bats.
I get that, but I would just say Friedel's been so good that I'm okay with riding that out. I'm not suggesting that I'm putting Elly at shortstop.
But you pigeoned yourself into that.
Well, that's fine. You can always in life think that you're in a spot where you can't get out of it. But guess what? I'm here to tell you that you can. You can. You can wake up tomorrow and change it. You can, if Tito really wanted to, I know that it sounds crazy, but he definitely could put Friedel in the 2-hole tomorrow if he wanted to. He's not going to, because everyone's going to be like, oh, you don't want to. He's playing so well, you don't want to move him. Okay. If you don't want to move Friedel, I get it. I can live with that. I just can't fathom continuing to put Espinal and or McLean in the 2-hole.
Well, Hayes would also make a lot of sense batting second.
That's fine too. Put Hayes there.
In between Friedel and Elly, because he clearly destroys left-handed pitching. He's played better all year.
I don't care what you do. I don't care what you do, Nick. The second hitter on your baseball team needs to be better. And I get that you're trying to convince me that having McLean in the 2-hole is really, you can live with it because you feel like there's an upside there or a ceiling there. My argument to that, Nick, is okay, well, when that ceiling comes back and he looks like he's the guy that he once was consistently over a longer period of time, then we'll move him up in the lineup. But until then, let him hit at the bottom of the lineup where maybe he'll see some more fastballs or whatnot. Maybe he wouldn't because he's got Elly behind him. To be fair, you're probably not going to be pitching around Matt McLean right now. But I don't know. I mean, there's just not that many guys on this team that are what I would consider really good offensive players. And one of our really good offensive players isn't even guaranteed to bat in the first inning. It's insanity to me. I mean, it is. You're telling me that Hayes isn't going to hit in the first inning if nobody gets on base. So, I don't know. But Espinal might.
It's probably Espinal batting second so much has made McLean more desirable there.
100%. Yeah, well, no doubt. There's no doubt. I mean, listen, you can. Yeah, I'm not going to get myself in trouble.
It feels though like Tito. There's 3 players that have they bat anywhere else all year. Friedel bats leadoff, Elly bats third, Austin Hayes bats fourth. He had that dead set. This is the way I'm setting up the lineup, and I'm not changing it.
Yeah, I agree. Because those guys haven't moved. Everyone else has moved. Shout out to Spencer Steer, though, by the way. Really, you want to talk about a come up.
Yeah, played really well.
Spencer Steer has figured it out. I don't know. What can you do besides sit here and complain, I guess? All right, any other parting thoughts before we jump into some Reds MILB on a Sunday night?
No.
All right. Nick, Reds, minor league baseball.
All right, we'll start off with AAA. Louisville Bats, they fell 13-11 to Indianapolis. Bats now 37-50. A tough day for Chase Petty. 2 innings, 4 hits, 7 runs, 5 of them earned. Walked 4 batters. Now he only allowed 2 hard hit balls, but the 4 walks. Only the 5th time in his minor league career he's done that. Petty overall has been pretty good. 3.61 ERA in 13 starts. but a tough one today. His defense did not help him out, but he walked a lot of guys. Connor Joe finally got a hit. Was 1 for 5. Now a cool 1 for 12 with 0 walks during his rehab assignment to date. Blake Dunn, though, playing better. 2 for 3 with a walk. Blake Dunn now on base in 28 straight games, entering today at a .417 on base percentage during that streak. So playing much better of late. Zach Maxwell gave up 3 hits and 2 runs. Didn't walk anyone, struck out 2. Actually struck out the first 2 batters that he faced, but then he gave up back-to-back weak singles, followed by a hard hit double. Tough day for Maxwell. Connor Phillips threw a perfect inning with a strikeout. Only needed 5 pitches, and all of them were strikes. Joe LaSorsa struck out the side. All right, down to AA, the Chattanooga Lookouts. They won 7-1 over Birmingham. Lookouts now 43-34 on the season. Another good day from Cam Collier. He was 2 for 4 with a double. Edwin Arroyo, 2 for 4. Hector Rodriguez, 2 for 5. Hit his 11th homer of the year and doubled. Jay Allen homered, 2 for 4. His 3rd home run of the year. Sal Stewart was 0 for 3. Down to high, the Dayton Dragons. They won their first series of the season. Now, it was only a 3-game series. They had a split weird series with the 4th of July, but they won 4-0 over Lake County. Dragons now 27-53 on the year, but they are just 3 games out of a second-half playoff spot. Great day from Carlos Jorge. He was on base 3 times, also stole 2 bases, 24 stolen bases on the year. Leo Balcazar had a good day as well. He was 2 for 5 with a double. And last but not least, the Daytona Tortugas, tough day. They fall 3-0 to St. Lucie. They only had 3 hits on the day. Alfredo Duno 0 for 3 with the walk. Sammy Stafora 0 for 3 with the walk. Stafora actually had his 30-game on-base streak snapped on the 4th of July, but he still reached base in 32 of his last 33 games. The Tortugas, they have a 1-game lead for a playoff spot. That's your Reds MILB.
The kids in AA are without question going to be the group that either makes or breaks Nick Krall.
At least makes his job a lot easier.
Well, I don't think he'll have a job if that doesn't pan out. Personally, I mean, I guess you could convince me that the big league club, you know, maybe there's a trade or something here made, or there's an offseason acquisition that he gets, but I just don't think the Reds are going to be in the market to be buying a whole lot. Personally, because of the finances of Major League Baseball, and especially with the new CBA coming up, most teams are going to kind of stand pat regardless. I just think that those kids are promising, man. They're a promising set of kids, and you know, you can take your pick. That's the funny thing, and that's what you've always kind of preached with the minor league depth, if you want to call it that, Nick, is that I don't know who it's going to be out of that AA class, but we're going to have a couple. Dare I say at least one really good player. It's almost impossible for us not to have one really good player out of that group. 2 would seem more realistic. Anything more than 2 is, but you could start to take your pick. And I know people think I'm crazy, but like you could even go to Allen. Like I could see Allen being a damn good
He's
player.
a lottery ticket. Yeah.
I'm
Him and Ethan O'Donnell are both nice lottery tickets down there. And then you have the 4 mainstays that you're talking about. Right.
I'm just saying, like, there's a chance that you get a diamond in the rough too, including 1 or 2 of the guys, the mainstay guys that you're hoping for. Obviously, Sal and Cam are probably the 2 most prominent players that you could say that might come up here. But it's promising. It's really promising to see Cam Collier come back and play really, really well. I mean, you get hurt, you never know, but he hasn't missed a beat. So
he has the highest ceiling, in my opinion, of that group. And I mean, and look, and a lot of people are going to say trade him. Well, I hope if you pick the right one to trade of those 4. Because if you trade the wrong one, that can also be the kind of thing that sends your organization into a spot you don't want to be. Because you can't miss. You can't miss on who you trade. So I hope the Reds have a good idea on their players if they trade them.
David and Aaron in the chat mentioned Austin Hendrick. I know that he has rebounded
at the game of his life on Saturday. Didn't play. I don't think he played today. 4 for 4, 2 home runs, and a walk-off single.
Right. No, I'm not like I'll believe it when I see it with Austin Hendrick. I don't know what the age differential is at this point. Do you have one? Where are we at with the age differential?
He's 24 years old.
That's what I'm saying.
Now,
What's the age differential? At
he
that
has a 132 WRC plus at Double A. Two home runs really kind of snuck it up, but I don't know. I don't know what to make of him. Sean Melvin in the chat points out he is Rule 5 eligible this offseason. I didn't think anyone would even remotely consider putting him on a 40-man roster to pick him up. But if he does keep that up, that is going to be in the discussion. But, his walk rate's gone up almost 2.5%. His strikeouts have gone down almost 7%. He's almost matched his home runs from last year. He has a cannon of an arm, too. I don't think that gets mentioned a lot. He's made a lot of really good plays. Plays a really good defense out in right field. I don't know. It would be an awesome story, but when a guy's 24 years old, still stuck in Double A, you're kind of just, you're not at that point. You can't expect anything.
To be fair, though, to him is he did come out of high school, which makes it a little more like, what's the right word to use? Like sometimes you can be a little more impatient with that because they've been in the system for so long that you don't really kind of give them credit. 24 is still 24, Nick. I'm not trying to say that 24 is fantastic at Double A, but the age differential, obviously, according to Baseball Reference, is even. I mean, it's not like he's 3 years older than the average age at Double A. And you know what? Let me add this too. Like, it's okay to have prospects wind up being just serviceable major league players for a couple of years. They don't all have to be slam dunk, home run, career defining players. I know that when you take someone with your first round pick, you're hoping to get a quality Major League Baseball player. I have made fun of the fact that Austin Hendrick is long gone. You might as well forget about it. If I'm being somewhat honest, Nick, like, it's not dead. It's not dead. I mean, I could convince myself a little bit that I think that maybe you found something at 24 that you didn't find previous seasons, and then it almost just overnight clicks. Had a good year.
I'm rooting for him. They played him very weird too. He's not played every day either, though. He's only at 53 games. Last year played 121. So I don't know what their plan is with him, but there was some sort of strategic plan of like you're playing every 2 days and you get a day off or something. But he has not played every day at all.
I would like to see by the end of the season, I'd like to see him move up for at least a considerable amount of time to see what it looks like if they're gonna push it. I mean, you have to.
It might be worth throwing him up to AAA and kind of leaving everyone else that core together.
Yeah,
and say,
leave the core together.
Go up to AAA and I don't know. I'm rooting for him. He had a stretch. He's had a stretch the last 2 years where he had a run where he was really good for a while and tailed off. But I don't think he's had anything close to this. So,
yeah, be interesting to see what the Reds decide to do at the deadline and what guys they want to keep. And there's an old quote that I can't remember exactly the general manager that Tom, when he was doing his show, would reference, but I thought it was a very cool line, and I thought that it was very wise. But general manager, and I maybe should know the guy's name, but I don't, of the Atlanta Braves would always say that you better know your farm system better than every other team knows your farm system. So, there's probably guys that are ranked high, if you want to call it that, Nick, inside of Baseball America's list or just baseball or whatever list you want to go off of, that the Reds probably in their mind don't think that they're progressing the way they'd like them to. So you can use the I guess if you want to call it that, the outlook of other people's opinions that are different than yours and ship them off and get better value than what you think, right? So as you said, if you want to ship prospects out, obviously you can do that, but just you don't have the affordability to be wrong. You just don't. So we shall find out what the Reds decide to do at the deadline. All right, we got one more week here until the break. We've talked about it, Nick, a little bit previously, perhaps at the start of this show. Guess your overall thoughts on the homestand before we jump into kind of the who, what, when, where, and why.
Before we get into the Marlins, I guess I can run through this. I put this together. While the Reds have this homestand that on paper is favorable, but it's only on paper. Make sure I preface that. The Reds have a real opportunity because the rest of the teams they're fighting for in the wild card have pretty tough schedules. The Cubs, I guess the Cubs are we've already conceded them, but they're playing the Twins and Yankees. The Brewers, Dodgers, Nationals, Cardinals, Nationals, Braves, Padres, Diamondbacks, Phillies, Giants, Phillies, Dodgers, Diamondbacks, Padres, Angels. So pretty favorable in terms of who they're playing. And obviously the Diamondbacks and Padres are playing each other. So one of them has to lose. So there's a real chance here that if you got hot for the next 7 days, I mean, the standings could not just be, changed in your favor, could really be flipped. Every day is its own day, but there's definitely an opportunity here that you could look up at the end of the week and have an entirely different outlook on this team.
Yeah.
But I'll say if they go 2-5, I'll have also have an entirely different outlook on this team.
Yeah, no, it's like you follow, as I said before, you can have an overreaction in what it feels like and on a day-to-day basis. But I think when you look at it holistically from a week's viewpoint, I know it's just 1 week in a long season, but there's only so many more opportunities this baseball team has to beat up on lesser competition. I mean, I'm not here to play the whole schedule game because we've done that on this show before and everyone else as fans has done that. And you can convince yourself that you have an easy schedule coming up, or you can convince yourself that you have a gauntlet coming up. And next thing you know, your baseball team, they overperform or underperform based off the expectations. But the truth is, I'm looking at homestands. I mean, there's just not another one. There's not another one for the rest of the season that is even remotely opportunistic as this one. It's not even close. I mean, if you
when the Rockies are in it, you're never going to find anything else.
Well, I know that and the Marlins, but I'm just saying, you have the Dodgers for 3, coupled with sandwich between the Rays and the Braves. The fact that the Dodgers are there makes that one completely out. Just regardless of what you think of the other two teams. You have the Phillies, then you have the Brewers. That is the most competitive homestand that you're going to have for the rest of the way out. You have the Cardinals, a divisional opponent, coupled with, I guess, the Blue Jays. So maybe you could convince yourself that one's close, but it's not because the Rockies are in town. And then you got the Mets, Cubs, coupled with the Pirates. And I'm not going to sit here and ever. You're never going to hear me say that the Pirates are a series that you should win, because I'll say it, they've owned us. So 5-2. I think that's the standard, Nick.
Yeah.
4-3. 4-3.
You keep it moving.
It feels like. Yeah, it almost feels like in business you broke even for that year. You did a lot of work. You don't feel like you got anywhere totally, but you're not bankrupt.
Yep.
So, I don't know. Won't feel great. 4-3, weirdly enough, won't feel great at all. But
we'll not have the warm and fuzzies.
No. Is 7-0 possible?
Didn't
we do it?
It's
possible?
Was it last year that they went 6-0 against these same two teams?
You're asking.
I don't know. All the years run together.
Yesterday. 2024. We oddly enough feels like it wasn't even a.
They went 1-2. They went 5-2 last year. Yeah, so. This is literally the exact same homestand. It's just flipped. The Rockies were the first 4. The Marlins were the last 3. That was the Rhys Hines week, and they went 5-2 right up to the All-Star break, and then got swept by the Nationals.
Love it.
And they played the Nationals after the All-Star break.
Oh, God.
Schedule makers are like just deja vu.
I do remember that. I do remember that now that you say it. Yeah. Nightmares. All right, folks. What do you want to do? Who, what, when, where, and why? That seems appropriate.
Yeah, let's do it. I got a few notes here on the Marlins. Reds taking on the Marlins 4-game series. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 7:10. Thursday, a 5:10 game, Trace. I think that's the Old Dominion concert. That's the reason why. The Reds will send out Brady Singer, Nick Martinez, Andrew Abbott, and Nick Lodolo. The Fish sending out Jansen Junk, Yuri Perez, Sandy Alcantara, TBD, possibly Cal Quantrill on Thursday. Notable all right-handed pitchers. Marlins come in 40-48. They had won 7 in a row at the end of June, but they're still 10-3 over the last 13 games. Did lose 2 of 3 over the weekend to the Brewers. Reds, of course, lost 2 of 3 to the Marlins in Miami back in April. Reds only scored 11 runs in those 3 games. Marlins offense has been much better than you probably think. They rank near the middle of MLB in most statistics. Kyle Stowers, the player to watch, just named an all-star on Sunday. Looks like they absolutely fleeced the Orioles in a trade for Trevor Rogers last deadline. He has 16 home runs. He has an OPS of nearly 1,000 over the last 30 days. Tomorrow's starting pitcher, Jansen Junk, making his 11th big league start on Monday. He had been kind of a waiver guy, played on 4 different teams over the last 5 years. Got caught up in mid-May by the Marlins. First 4 games were as a long reliever, actually all 4 innings plus as a reliever. Got put in the Marlins rotation on June 14th, and he's been really good in 3 of the 4 starts. 5 and 2/3, no runs, 5 innings, 1 run, 6 innings, 2 runs, and then 1 really bad start where you go 5 runs in 3 2/3, but pitching pretty well. He's only walked 2 batters and given up 1 home run in 37 in the 3rd innings pitched, a 1.83 FIP. Fastball 94.2. Sweeper has been his best pitch. He's never faced the Reds. Jose Trevino, the only batter that's faced him, he is 1-2. So Jansen Junk. I think it's time that he gets a taste of the big leagues at Great American Ballpark on Monday night.
Let's hope so. I'll tell you what, it's been hot enough around here. The ball should be flying a little bit.
It's hot up here too, man.
Dude, it is.
What's going on?
It is. It's hotter than West Texas, as some would say.
We had a brutal winter. Now we have a hot summer. Like there was just, I don't know about you guys. We had like no spring up here. Like it just straight went from freezing cold to 90 degrees.
Well, I feel like we've had an okay spring. Just it seems like it's rained every other day, and then it stopped raining, and now it's very, very, very hot. So we shall find out what's in store for the next month. But my guess is it's going to be hot and humid because that's just what happens in Ohio. All right, folks. Well, if you haven't already, please like the stream. Doing the whole song and dance that we always do here, but I just want to tell you, if you haven't, please like the stream. I think we're at 65 likes right now. 150 in the chat. If you wouldn't be so kind, you could hit the like button on your way out. Nick, hopefully we can find a way to win some baseball games and really make a difference, because I just think that if they can find a way to win 5, 6, 7 games, you get yourself in a position where you can really start to find a pathway towards success. And I think that if they go out and make some deals happen at the deadline, it's only going to enhance the optics and belief in the players. If nothing else, I'd love for the clubhouse to believe that the front office and management is totally committed to their baseball team. And right now they have some needs that need to be addressed. We'll see if they fix them. And I hate to say this, but this homestand is going to go a long way towards the decision that they're going to make, whether they're going to try to help this baseball team or they're just going to do what some people deem as unnecessary and hate, which is stand pat again, make sure that they don't make a mistake by trading one of their prospects that they think has a chance to help them long term. And I get it. We're tired of that. And I am too. So hopefully we can go 7-0 and basically force this front office to go and find some help for the remainder of the year. Till next time, we appreciate you. Thanks for jumping in here on a Sunday night. This has been Chatterbox Reds. Until next time, take care, everybody.